Hey, I'm Josh with NEXA Mortgage, and I'm here to explain to recruits, potential recruits, current recruits, whoever, how the compensation works. And to make it easy, I'm going to start with a $100,000 loan amount, okay? With a $100,000 loan amount, if you charge 275 basis points, then you're looking at $2,750 in compensation that's going to come in a check to NEXA. After NEXA gets that $2,750 check, NEXA is going to take 25 basis points, which is $250 on a $100,000 loan. And they're going to take 12%, okay? So after NEXA takes their 25 basis points out and their 12%, then you're going to get the rest in compensation. Okay, see that? So you're going to get the rest in compensation, which is $2,200. Now, there are three different ways that you could be doing this loan. You could be doing this loan as a borrower-paid brokered loan. You could be doing this loan as a lender-paid brokered loan, or you could be doing this as a correspondent non-delegated loan. If it's a correspondent non-delegated loan, it's always lender-paid. All lender-paid loans are, they go into the loan officer compensation rules, which means you can only get paid based on the compensation that you've set up or that NEXA or your employer has set up, and your compensation has to be consistent for every borrower. So since that compensation has to be consistent for every borrower on lender paid loans, you're going to get paid compensation from this $2,200. You're going to get compensated whatever your bucket says. So let's talk about three scenarios, because most people set up three buckets. So in a scenario where your bucket, your number one bucket is set up for compensation of 220 basis points, then you're going to get paid $2,200. In a borrower paid deal, you brought $2,200, you brought $2,750, and you took out the 25 basis points for NEXA and the 12%, you get paid $2,200, borrower paid. Lender paid, you take out the same numbers and you get that $2,200 if it's a lender paid deal and you're a lender paid compensation set up for 275 basis points. Now, if it's a correspondent deal, you can still get paid in these three buckets over here: lender paid, bucket one, bucket two. If you set up your bucket like most people do, with 220 at the first bucket and 154 at the second bucket. Now, to cover 154, you need to make sure that NEXA brings in 2%. Just like in the first scenario, you got to make sure NEXA brings in 275 basis points, or 2.75%. In this scenario, in the bucket two, if your bucket is 154 basis points, then you need to bring in 2%. In the third bucket, it's set up very different for different people. So depending on what your bucket is, the way you figure that out is just the same math that we've used over here over and over. You take 25 basis points on a $100,000 loan, that's $250. And then you take times 0.88, which is 12% that you're taking out and leaving you with the 88%. So that's the way these compensations get done. Now, let's talk about where your money goes if you qualified for NEXA 100. Now, once you're with NEXA, your ledger dollars, your money that you can spend on business expenses, are going to end up in three places. So let's explain this. Your NEXA expense account is basically going to be in three places: your ledger, your reimbursement ledger, and your divvy card. Let me tell you a little bit about where all three of those are. First of all, you have the reimbursement ledger. This is where money comes popping back into your account from that NEXA $100. So again, you did a loan, it was a NEXA 100 loan. NEXA stood to make X number of dollars out of that, which is the 25 basis points and the 12%. Once they see that you qualify for NEXA 100 after the loan's closed, they throw the money back to you. It shows up in what's called the reimbursement ledger. Now, that's different than your regular ledger. Your regular ledger is where if there's some overage from a loan, or there's money before payroll goes out. So before payroll went out, it looks like I had $51.09, and then they took an admin fee, which is part of that 12% and 25 basis points. And then they put some money into my payroll, so that went to my every account. So that's when I get actual payroll. We're not talking about payroll now. When I'm talking about these 3 deals here, I'm talking about not payroll, but your expense money. So your expense money goes to 3 places. Your ledger, which is this, the ledger, that's how everything gets balanced out. Your expense, your reimbursement ledger, which is where this comes from. That's your NEXA $100. And you also have a divvy card. Now, it's not called divvy anymore. Let's see. Can you see that? But it's called bill and spend. There it is, bill and spend. But mine is old, and so it says divvy card on there somewhere, and I don't know if you can see it because of the light. But anyway, this is a debit card. And so I put money onto my debit card. And so now when I'm keeping up with how much money I have to spend for my expense account, I actually have to add up 3 numbers. I got to add up how much money I've got on my divvy card, how much money I got in my reimbursement ledger, and how much money I've got in my regular ledger. My regular ledger dollars, those are where my monthly admin fee and my monthly tech fee comes out, and then also where my payroll comes out. And then I have my reimbursement ledger, which is where my NEXA $100 go back in. I can move that to my divvy card. I can move that to my ledger, my regular ledger if I need that money, or I can just, spend money on a, whatever, and then reach out to payroll or to accounting, and they'll fix my ledger and they'll reimburse me for what I spend on legitimate business expenses. So I hope that kind of helps understand ledgers, reimbursement, NEXA 100, where this money comes from. If you have questions, I'll love to walk you through it again, but I'm just trying to make some videos to help recruits and new loan officers with me understand how this all works.